Hello, everyone. How are you?
I'll just say that back to them. We're well, thanks, Kez. Everyone is awesome. Make sure you do put some comments in the chats, though. Definitely, if you've got a specific question for Kez as she's presenting, we're chatting about Wade this afternoon in Australia. It might be evening for you. Make sure that you do that. I'd love to have some engagement while I'll ask Kez some questions. So I'm going to get Kez just start telling us, how did you become an author? How does someone become an international best-selling author? Surely it started with a little seed that grew.
I was a little seed that grew when I started writing. I was about 7 when I started writing one-liners. Won a little school competition. I got a gold star for it, and I've still got that gold star, believe it or not. So it showed me there are many ways to be who you want to be, and that's so important for every woman. Every man, every woman, every child is to grow up knowing that someone's got your back, and that you might get a gold star if you're lucky, and that we need to hear your stories. We need them left behind so that the following generation can follow your wisdoms.
We don't do enough of that, do we? You know, I know in a lot of Indigenous culture, it's full of passing on your story. You know, definitely from person to person. If you didn't have the written word, we have the luxury that we should have both. We should have the direct and the written, but often we're too busy, too disconnected to actually be sharing on that way in a personal way, which is a real tragedy of modern life. And then also to be able to stop and spend the time and pass those stories down. Because I'm constantly saying to my family, oh my gosh, I should have got my beautiful grandmothers who I just just adored. I wish I'd had their stories written down while they were alive, but even if you can then research things, you can find out so much about people. So I find that fascinating. So you got a gold star in school. Well done, you. I was like, ooh, I love that. I'm a gold star lover. And then you won a competition. You thought, I've got some talent here, but you didn't go straight into being an author, because I know you've had quite other
No.
things.
Oh, look, I became an artist. I became a teacher. That was my biggest goal, to have an education and then start teaching. And I was very fortunate in my younger years. I have a lot of Maori in my family. I'm from New Zealand, and they had this magic tourism school. So I was asked to go and be the head tutor there, and spent many years off and on teaching young people the ability to write a tourism brochure. But what they didn't realize, I was actually teaching them grammar and English. That's what I was teaching them. We had mostly our students were from the South Pacific Rim. Now and again, we had a Canadian or an American join us when they had no work, and they were able to come and join our school. But yeah, I had a wonderful time. I worked for wonderful people. I have a wonderful husband. I've had a very blessed life. I mean, we all have our hard times, Annie, but in those hard times you grow. And so I embrace them. And my mother taught me that, if you don't embrace the hard times, then your lesson hasn't been learnt. So I embrace them. And certainly, I mean, hard times hurt. That's what it's all about. But it gives you time to reflect. So when I'm now a mentor to especially women over 55 plus. As you know, I travel the country a fair bit, and I encourage women of all ages to start jotting down, to start journaling. Be fairly accurate about your life. No one has to read it but you. But if you want to get published, you do have so many opportunities. In today's digital world, we have thousands of opportunities to present ourselves and to present our story.
Yeah, it's true. It's never been easier than it is now. Even if you can just self-publish if you want to. You can work out how to do it. Everything is Googleable, as we know. There is also obviously a great benefit in going to getting a professional mentor, getting a publisher, getting it well edited, and all of that. And there's different factors that are involved. And I know as a coach and a mentor to women all around the world, you're an expert in guiding them in that way. What is your main mission for them, though? So if you actually have a mission for the business, you're wanting women generally 55 and above. Why have you chosen 55? Is that because it's generally an age that there's suddenly, I'm thinking I'm 55 in a few months, and that'd probably be me, right? You've raised your kids. If you've had a family, you've often sort of slowing down a little bit. You're starting to think about, that's right. What have I learned in my life? Have I got a personal story? Do I actually have I already always had this weird idea of a book in my head that might be a bit random? Do I want to actually do it? I think it is a really great age to be starting off. So those listening in, it's never too late. Seriously, never too late to start.
No. So 55 plus for me. I left work at 55. I was no longer employed. I moved to Australia, and I was also an artist. And that's how my recognition in New Zealand, not as an author, but as an artist. Once I reached Australia, I decided I wasn't going to work as hard. My family didn't follow me. I had no kids at home. So I joined a writing school. I joined 2 or 3 writing schools in Perth itself and in the suburbs where I lived. And I learned the particular, not so much into tourism and brochures and advertising and promotional work. I learned how to write about me. And I learned my story. And I thought, wow, I never saw myself as how I wrote about myself. And then my tutor in the class would say, well, how do you see yourself? And it's a day-to-day thing. 55 plus, we have time to breathe. We have time to step back and think, where do I go from here? We've done the children, we've done the family, we might have done the marriage, who knows? But we have time. We just have time. And it just amazed me at the amount of time I had, leisure time. So I put it to good use. I started writing poetry. I started writing for myself. I started writing my story. my story's taken although I've got 14 books out there as an author, and one of them is a bestseller and the other are best read books, my story is only just coming out. What do I do with it? I don't know yet, but it will be published one day. But I've just taken time writing it. And that's what I find with 55 plus. Take that day out. Examine who you actually are. Because from go when we're born to 55, we've changed in our personality 1,000 times. We all change and we all adapt. And so at 55 plus, where do we go from there? Do we just retire and think, oh, well, that's life. I'll just have a little garden. Or do we think, whoa, this is my time. I'm going to shine. And that's what I want for all women, is to take that shine and, take that thought of shining. And as my grandmother said to me, why are you reaching for the golden ring when you have the golden ring inside you? Believe in yourself. And that's always stayed with me, Annie. There's no reason to reach for it when we're all born with it. And so just encourage yourself.
Wow. What is the first response? Because I don't want to think that I represent all people. When someone goes and says, okay, Kez, I want to actually write a book. I want to have that sort of process. What is the average person, before I put words into your mouth, those listening in going, I wonder if I'm normal. I think I'd like the idea, but I haven't taken that step. What are most people's sort of probably fears or concerns about taking that big, brave step to start writing their own story?
First answer to that question, no one's normal. We're all so different. We are all so different, and it's amazing. People come to me and they say, I want to write a book. I say, let's start. And we start with a prologue more than anything. That's the beginning of the book, about you, about the book, how we put it together. And then each week we meet up and I guide them through what they've written. Some people come to me with a book already written. Now, when I was in the country last week, a woman approached me. She had the most beautiful, beautiful book. And I fell in love with the book and I said, why isn't this published? It was amazing. Truly, it was like an encyclopedia of her travels around Africa, and the photographs, the words, the story was just stimulating. And I wanted to be in that book. And she said to me, I'm frightened.
Yes.
And we all have that fear. So the best advice I was ever had, if you're writing your own book about you and you know it's about you, write it in third party, and then we'll deal with it when it's written, because we go through it again. So if you have that fear, and we're all born with fear, we all have it. Just talk to someone like myself, a mentor or a coach that can walk you through that fear. And then it becomes, we sort of hold your hand and we say to you, there's no reason to be frightened. It's between us. It's a secret between us until you get it published.
Yeah. That is such great advice. And I knew I wasn't unusual because, after someone who's just gone and written my twins book, that's it. When you're writing something personal and you're trying to get it all out, there is that anxiety, that fear, those blocks, because, you're out of your comfort zone. There's so many, whatever you're doing in your business and life at the moment, you kind of got areas and you go, you know what, I'm nailing that. I'm really good at that. I'm whatever. And so therefore you generally pursue the things that you're naturally good at. And then so to actually take that step back and go, oh my gosh, like I want it to happen. I've always thought of it, it's a good idea, but the handbrakes go on, right? And it's because you suddenly go, I actually don't have any skills in this area. And then also you think, if I do it and it's really terrible, oh my gosh, it's going to be embarrassing. How am I going to cope? People are going to go, what were you thinking? Leave it to the professionals. Whereas the reality is actually different. So I encourage those listening in to seriously reach out to Kez and have a chat, because it was, once you start unpacking all the stages, I totally agree. You at the beginning, you're just getting the, what you actually want to communicate, what's your main message, and then what are the, how are you going to lay that out, and then how do we actually just start writing and getting the flow going. I agree. That's such great advice. Write it in a different tense, and you can actually, once you're brave enough at the end, you can suddenly, fix those things and personalize it. And it does this, those stepping stones do take the fear away. It's got to be, with anything that we do, has to be achievable. The most important thing that I found when you were mentoring me, and I know you do for others, is actually just putting more of your voice in it. I think because when we get fearful about something, or we're trying to get it right, or what's expected of me, as soon as you're trying to then get something right in a different context, you lose your authenticity. Whereas what's the best thing about reading something or seeing an artist or listening to a song? It's actually hearing their voice or getting their tone, right? And so how do you approach that whole topic of using your voice, whatever genre they're actually writing in?
That's right. Yeah. How do I encourage people? Is that what you mean? Okay. So if someone comes to me and says, I want to write a book, we start off by, first of all, just having a conversation. The most important thing between an an author or a writer and their mentor is trust your mentor. You have to have a click, because if you don't click, you're not going to get your story right, and they're going to have more and more say about your book. This is your book. These are your words, and no one should interfere. When your editor comes on board, then that's the time to sort out what should be written, what should not be written or said. That's the time. But between a mentor and a writer, the trust issue must be there of all time. And being allowed to be freedom. There's a freedom there between you. So if you feel that you must say that within the paragraph, you must fill in the genre of what you're trying to write about, then be honest with yourself. Your mentor is not going to slap you on the wrist and say, you shouldn't say that. We're going to say, have you thought about putting it in a different way, versing it so that it is more agreeable to your readers' eyes when they're reading it? So that's what we're after. It's really, until you actually go into the process of editing and publishing, which is totally different to being a mentor. I don't do any of those things. I might do a very soft edit and say, think about versing it in another way, or have you thought about putting this in or that in? So that's my job. That's what I do. And then at the end of the book, when they think finished, and it's not up to me to say finished, it's up to the client to say finished, I introduce you to 2 or 3 publishers. But again, I leave that entirely up to you. Some people have got their own network of publishers and editors and stuff like that. That's entirely your business and what you do with it. My job is to make sure that your voice is heard, and heard in the correct way. So what I do is I treat it like a little secret between 2 friends. So when they contact me and say, I've got a book, or I want to write a book, it's just between the 2 of us. No one else is in the room. Tell me your story. Write it down. Put it on a canvas. Tell me who you are. And that's how I encourage people to relax. Again, many people on this program that you've been running have been telling people how to relax, and they all work. All the things work. So learn to relax, learn to follow the instructions. The friendship that we create between a mentor and an author is a little bit like secret squirrel. It's just between the 2 of you. No one else needs to know until they say, enough, I want to go to a publisher. Just make sure all the ducks are in a row, and they'll be happy.
It is such a learning curve. It is such a cathartic experience. It really does. It's an amazing experience writing a book. And I think for someone who's just done it, so not the expert, those listening in, it's okay to take time with it. It takes as long as it takes for you. You don't have to, you don't want to be going by other people's deadlines or other people's expectations. I think it's just like, when it's right, it's right. And a lot of it you don't know, and it's a classic example of anything you do new. It's once you've got the formula, and once you're like Kez, you'll and you're an expert in an area, then the process is obviously much easier because you know what you're trying to achieve. To be honest, when you first do it, you don't know what you're trying to achieve. You just imagine this polished view, and you go, it's so hard to comprehend. How does it get to that stage? Because you don't know all the steps, the requirements. But I tell you what, everything, as we know, is figure outable. You work it out, you listen, you get mentored. I love the way you did that with me, Kez, that you went and said, I need to hear, in my twin book, it's like, I need to hear a chapter from James. I need to hear his voice as well as your voice. And then, so that's right. It's not rewriting. It's not taking away my voice. It's actually, I was encouraged to use more of Annie's style presence in some ways, get more of my voice so it's speaking to the person reading it. But then I was also told to sort of, some things, I've got a lot of Aussie sayings, and my American ladies will laugh at that because they'll say, yep, you do. And so therefore, if you're going to go into an international market, then I needed to be told that. I didn't even know. Like, you don't know, you just write something. And then
That's right.
Suddenly a professional will go, oh, you probably need to say it in a slightly different way, or can you use your voice to say it differently? So, I can strongly support what you're saying, that you don't lose your voice. In fact, your voice gets sort of enhanced, I suppose, permission to be more of you in your narrative, which is confronting, because you sort of, you go, but I don't know, will everyone want to hear that? And the answer is yes, they do.
They do.
You do feel like you get to know that person.
I think it's people are honest with themselves. As I say to a lot of my clients, what you don't know, you don't know. And that's it. There's no good being ashamed about it. Learn. Just learn.
Yeah.
Just take on board what I'm going to tell you, or show you or teach you, and then we start from there. So people think, why can't I write a book? Well, that's what I thought too. 15 years ago, I thought, why can't I write this book? So I started a different genre. I started going into adventure, fiction, all my travels around the globe, all my caravanning journeys. I am a bit of a traveler. So I started writing about that, and I found I sat in that seat. I drove it perfectly. It was like my little car. I'm driving this. I'm the boss, and no one's going to stop me. And so once I got the first book done, and then I realized I could do another one and another one. And then, as I said, writing about myself it's been ongoing, because so much has happened since I've been recognized by my publisher as an award-winning author. The journey's been amazing. Like, I've spoken all over the world, spoken in Japan, South Pacific Rim, in New Zealand and Australia and Ireland. In Ireland, I actually made a great big bloop, but and my publisher just walked on stage and covered it for me. I actually had a virus and I lost my voice. And so again, trying to croak while I'm in front of this beautiful international audience. Time to make your mark, Kez. What you don't know, you don't know. I didn't know I was going to lose my voice, but my publisher just walked on, took my place, and everything was smooth. And you've got to learn to trust the journey. It's amazing. Through starting off with that little gold star when I was 7, I now am a best-selling award-winning author, and I've made a movie from one of my books. So it's just amazing. It's amazing where the journey, and some people don't want that. I did. Some people just want a quiet little book that sits on the family bookshelf. That's great. Let's get the quiet little book that sits on the bookshelf. I'm proud of you. At least you've got the book. Yeah.
Exactly. You won't spend the rest of your days going, oh, I should have done that, always wanted to do that. Just do it. That's right. Even if you're in that phase of, even if you do it right, you've your own one, have it as your own copy, and you've done it, and then you can sit on something. My twin book, I wrote a booklet 25 years ago, and it just sat there as mum's booklet. And then suddenly went, oh, now's the right time. Suddenly, kids are all adults now, and we had COVID. I found windows of time, and I'm like, oh, you know what? That's right. You can progress things at different stages.
Yes.
Nothing's lost. Nothing's lost at all. And I think, well done you. And even other things, like one of my sons is into poetry, and I'm like, oh, one day you should just write your own little book. It could be just for you. It could be with your little poetry club that you share it with, and then when they all go, oh my goodness, that's really good, you'll get more courage, and you'll go, oh, okay, well, maybe I should, pursue it further. That's right. Some of you, I think your journey, Kez, is absolutely phenomenal. I like to actually go, oh my gosh, I didn't actually start till I was 55. Now you're like multi-award winning bestseller book. I went to Kez's movie. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how incredible is that? When you still in a lot of your conversation go, oh, it's almost like I'm not even an author. I'm an artist, because you've had a life experience of being an artist where you're actually all of those things. You're everything that you have walked on this journey of life, and absolutely phenomenal. Tell me then, just for those listening in, I'm sure they're wondering, and I'll just check the chat as well. So when you came to Australia and you call you're an artist, why didn't you then just go, oh, I'll obviously just pursue art? There must have been some little voice that went, no, I'm going to actually give
that little
writing
gold star kept calling, kept saying, you can write, you can write, you can write. And I thought, no, I can't. I'm not a writer, I'm an artist. And then I found that when I was creating a canvas, the words were spilling out. And this may sound weird, but when you're a creative, when you start putting your thoughts onto paper, canvas, wood, whatever you're going to put it onto, the words will start to happen in your head. And you think, that's amazing. It's almost poetry. So what I started to do was once the canvas was dried and finished and shellacked or whatever, I would turn it over and I would write a little wee poem on the back. So they got 2 for the price of 1 as far as I was concerned. But the poetry took off. And then I realized that I was actually writing stories. I was meeting all these people through exhibitions, and they all had stories as well. So everybody said to me, I wish I could paint. Oh, I wish I could write. Why aren't you? No one has to know. This is the thing. People think people have some sort of spyglass in your home and they're watching everything you do. It's not true. Do it on your own and be proud of it.
Yeah, do it. And even if you go, oh, I'm not even comfortable sharing that with my family or my friends, then just reach out to Kez and go, do you mind just, can we have a discussion about you even having a look at it, or just talk it through, or have I got the right ideas? Sometimes it's like, it's just a little bit removed. Mind you, Kez will become your bestie. But, it's safe, right? You're safe because that's right. You don't have all those other issues of your which is unfortunate, but in many families, we're all different, you can feel more self-conscious that, you don't want them to give you a bit of a ribbing and this and that, whatever. And that's okay. I think everything is okay. Definitely try and, take this opportunity, I think is my advice, to be able to do that. I love the power of a gold star. I tell you what, that is so amazing. And I love the fact that that's right. You can do something. This is what I love, which is another theme of this summit, which is that you're never too old to start that next chapter and that next opportunity to stretch yourself in a new area. So an example of what you've shared in your journey is, you could have just come and done some art and done that, but then it would have been like, I'm doing what I've done before. It is bold. It is brave to actually go, you know what, I'm actually going to, I still remember I'm proudly wearing my gold star, and I want to do this for something, if it's burning, whatever that thing is for those listening in, if it's burning in your heart and you think about it often, then just try it out. And you never know, you might become an international bestseller, or you might not. You might just love art classes. You might not even be very good. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Like if you love it, it's like singing. One of my daughters is a beautiful singer. I'm not the best singer. But you know what? If you burst into song and you just love it, who cares? Do you know what I mean? Like not everything has to be monetized as well. It's actually just putting things in your life that you actually just enjoy and love. And if you do that, it is more likely, as you have found, that you can monetize that, and people are now, seeking you out saying, Kez, can you come here? Can you create a course for us? Can we, can you be a speaker? Well, why not? Because you suddenly then become an expert in that area, whatever that area is. Absolutely.
We are all storytellers, no matter who, what, where, or how, no matter what race, ethnicity, that's the right word. We are all storytellers, and it comes from way back. So why would you lose that?
Yeah.
We are all storytellers, all of us. What we're doing now is telling a story. So why would we lose it? And it amazes me the way people are mute and they don't want to tell their story. Well, that's fine. I don't push you into it, but there's so many of my family, like my grandmothers, I didn't ever meet my grandfathers. I didn't have any. They were died before I was born. Just knew my grandmothers. But I went on to ancestry.com and found out about my grandfathers. Oh my goodness. I come from some talented line of people. You know, why wasn't this story? And it's lost.
Yeah.
And now I have to fictionalize some of it because I don't know it. So, you know, it's a shame. I just feel so disappointed that I've had to find out about my family like this by going on to ancestry.com, like I've been told snippets and put them all together. But why do that? Why not leave something behind? Why not just leave something behind, even if it's just for the family bookshelf? You know, get yourself mentored. Doesn't have to be by me. There are thousands of us out there. Find someone you click with. Make sure that they understand your needs. You don't need to do reverse. You don't have to understand their needs. They have to be completely at home with you and start writing your book.
Exactly. Get yourself. It is very simple. Get yourself comfy. Find someone who you relate to, that you connect with. They've got to be like a comfy cardy for you. You know, you just got to feel all snuggy, go, yep, because you're telling them your truths. You're telling them your fears. You're telling them how you actually feel. And that is, you know, it is a huge thing. But once you've done that, you feel so supported. You'll feel so, and you need that in anything that you're doing for the first time, which I absolutely love. Got in the chat, totally resonating with all of this. Absolutely. And I know so many people will be that they're like, oh yeah, I'm that person. I've thought about it. You know, well, if that's you, definitely reach out to Kez and have a little chat about that, you know, chat about where you're at the moment, things that you've tried before. It doesn't matter if you've tried 10 times before or if you think you've made a mess of it. Who cares? You know, you can just redo it. I recently just wrote something and then rewrote half of it again because, you know, you can think, oh, I'm on the right track, and then go, oh my gosh, these moments happen, and then go, oh, gee, I wish I knew that before. Well, you didn't. So you suck it up and go, oh, well, I'll just keep typing. And when you go through that journey, then you get the clarity, right? And then you get the, oh, yeah. And then when you get to the end, you go, you know what? It was a big effort, but it's what you wanted to write. And you've got to be comfortable that it reflects you. You're proud to put your name to it. You know, will it ever be perfect? And do you have difficulty handing it over? Yes, because, you know, it's like, oh, you know, the perfectionist in anyone just suddenly goes, oh, maybe there's something, you know, one comma missing, one dot, someone will say something. Who cares? Put it out to the universe and trust the professionals, right? Just trust the professionals who will go and do all of that bit for you. You don't have to get too serious about it. I've absolutely loved our conversation together today, Kez. I know it's been super, super inspiring for those listening in. I know there are so many people, definitely even through my tribe, Women's Biz Tribe, that are at that stage. They're doing work with me about they're developing their personal brand, and that might require a book, for example. So I know there's so many people in my immediate network. Everyone coming to this summit is now automatically a member of the Women's Biz Tribe for the next month anyway. So just get yourself hooked up and settled, and tell us what your needs are. Just drop into our events, which are on every single day in a couple of different time zones. Drop in there. I was listening to the talk about Kez. How do I find Kez? And Kez will pop in and say hello. You know, that's what it's about. That's what women supporting women is all about, right? It's actually that we should be easy to connect with, that we're actually happy to go, hey, if what we do serves you well, you know, we'd love to help you. And if it's not, we can certainly give you a few other pointers of who else might be available. That's what I absolutely love, because it's about you. It's about all of you tuning into this summit, about, you know, having your needs met, you know, your dreams fulfilled. You know, that's what it's all about.
Right. Yeah,
I absolutely love that spirit. So thank you so much. I know you are fulfilling your mission perfectly, because if your mission is to be able to help women find their voice and be able to put it into words and be something that they'll be proud of and pass on to future generations, then they're certainly going to be very, very successful. So thank you for joining us today, Kez.
Thank you.
Ladies, are you dreaming big enough? I want you to dream big and act bigger. You see, I want to have power. I want to be empowered. Suddenly being empowered is a more positive word, because I want to make sure that I know my own values, my boundaries. I know what I want to achieve in life. Visible and invisible barriers are only a problem if you accept them as such. So a woman with a big dream also needs to have a plan, because without a plan, that dream is just a wish.
I love her confidence, I love her charisma, and her positivity and her brightness and her colour and her lessons about life, you know. As a woman who's been through so much, it was really, really inspiring and really interesting.
I had 4 kids in 2 years. I wanted to be a businesswoman. I had no money. I had to think, how is this dream going to happen? If you actually start believing if something's important to you, just back yourself. Back yourself despite what other people say. Successful people are not held back by what other people say.
I would recommend that for everybody, because everybody should have a dream and everybody should back themselves. So I think she's awesome.
Even when it feels like everything's not going to work, they go, you know what? I'm going to make sure that this does work. I'm going to be positive despite, because it brings energy, it brings opportunity. And as soon as you actually get half glass empty, your vision will start failing. I encourage you to start making your dreams a reality in business and in life. Thank you.